3 minutes after 7 o'clock, you're inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running Africa, and we're in very, very serious times. The war against Iran, World War III, which was not announced, has not been announced, and probably will never be announced, is escalating. It's not getting any better. As we are rising this morning, we see where it is escalating. There's a lot happening in Iran, around the GCC, in Israel and Turkey and Afghanistan and Pakistan and Ukraine and Russia and Gaza and Haiti and Cuba. There's still a chokehold, a blockade on Cuba. Russian ships are heading to Cuba. America says you are not allowed to take the oil that Russia is sending to you to save your life. You're not allowed to take it. Let us watch and see what happens in Sudan, in the DRC, in Somalia, in the AES and parts of the AES. We must tell you that because Jinn is still very, very active. All of these so-called terrorist groups operating on the continent of Africa, created by operatives within powerful companies, and we'll talk about that another time. But we do know that ISIS was created, Al-Qaeda was created, JNIM was created, and we know the oppressive forces continue to create these so-called terrorist groups. And then when they're finished with them, they leave the places dry and empty. But not only that, sometimes they call for them again to be presidents and prime ministers of countries. For example, in Syria today, the prime minister of Syria is a former head of Al-Qaeda. Make that make sense. It tells you, though, a lot of what is happening around us. World War III will not be announced, and we're not calling down anything on anyone. Basically, what we're saying, what is the solution? What is the solution of the African people? What is our solution? Are we just going to be talking about it, or are we going to develop the protocols and policies and so on as to how to move from here? Because really and truly, if we're going to keep every day just talk about how the ships are being blocked in the Strait of Hormuz, and our geography is at the top now. We know where the Strait of Hormuz is. We know where Kog Island is. We know where Afghanistan and Pakistan and Iran and all of them there. And we're just watching this and having conversations about it. But what are we going to do for our own survival? Because if these ships are really blocked, and they are, you're talking about fertilizer, you're talking about oil, of course, you're talking about oil and gas, you're talking about food. We depend so heavily on imports, just generally speaking, that we have abandoned agriculture in this country and in the Caribbean for the most part. So what are the solutions? Are there any solutions? What are they? And how do we survive? We cannot just sit around having conversations about what is happening and not about what to do. And if we see if you really look at what's happening in Jamaica, as I said earlier, Jamaica has taken a preemptive obedience stance. In other words, Jamaica is reading America's mind and is obeying even that which America has not asked Jamaica to obey. This is basically where we are. I'm going to go now to the phone lines, and where my very special guests, I think, are standing by now. Egbert, Shaka, Higinio, and our brother Trevor Garabali, Palacio. And they're going to be talking to us about the Balliceaux initiative as we look at the Garifuna nation. I think I do have them online. Let me know if they... Oh, yes, I'm seeing you. Thank you. I'm not sure why I wasn't seeing you before, so I was here just ad-libbing through, but apparently you've been there for a while. My brother Egbert, we did say who you were before, so thank you so much again, President of the Garifuna Nation. Thank you so much for joining us inside of the Africa Forum.
Thank you very much too, Sister Kabu from the IRIE FM station, Jamaica. I'm glad to be joining you.
It's good to see you, my brother Trevor Garabali. Palacio, is it Palacio? Thank you so much, my brother. Is it Palacio?
It's Garabali Palacio Lembe.
Thank you so
Good
much.
morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us inside of the Africa Forum. All right. We've had many discussions in the space on the Garifuna Nation, but just remind our listeners, we get new listeners from all over the world every day. When we talk about the Garifuna Nation, what are we talking about, Shaka?
Yes, Sister. Kabu is Kabu, right?
Yes, Cabo.
So, the Garifuna Nation, I would define it on two fronts. You know, our Garifuna community was disrupted when it was in this part of the so-called Western Hemisphere. And so we are advocating that recognitions be made from both angles. One, the former where we are registered in the United States as a nonprofit, chartered, you know, the formalities that I don't have to go into. And then we operate as a formal entity, and informal entity, so to speak. I like to turn that noise in the background. You're hearing it?
No, I'm not hearing. I'm not hearing the noise.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So yes, the Garifuna Nation exists, and I bring greetings from my ancestors in Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, which is known to us in a folkloric, traditional word of mouth as Yurume. My ancestors refer to Saint Vincent and the Grenadines as Yurume. So I'd like to, from now on, refer to it as Yurume.
You were me.
And there are several stations or communities in Nicaragua of our people who speak the same language and preserve all cultural practices. We are in Honduras, over 30 communities in Honduras, which is constantly being disrupted, as people would have heard over the TV stations and radio stations. We are in Guatemala, and we are in Belize and several communities in the United States. So we refer to it as a nation, even though perhaps the formal institutes would not want to refer to us as a Garifuna nation. Just to lay that out, and the formal body is having an election today. The Garifuna nation is having an election today, and since my term of office actually ends today, so later on today I might not be president of the Garifuna Nation formally.
Oh, are you
But,
are you
yeah,
up
member
for
of
are
the
you up for
Garifuna.
re-election or?
Yes, I'm up
Okay,
for it.
all right. Well, we're rooting for you, and let us know what happens on the backside of this. We'll obviously reach out to you on that and have you back to talk some more about this. All right. So the
Yes.
elections are underway today.
Right, formally, for the formal Garifuna Nation. But I want to tell people that we exist as a nation.
Yes.
Just like how the Inuit nation exists, just like how the Zulu nation exists.
Yes.
We are a nation of people.
All right. And obviously, Trevor, you've been just looking at the information we have, the work that you've been doing as a younger one, youth in the business, who's carrying on the works of the ancestor and the Balliceaux initiative. I want to go right there. Talk to us a little bit about that and what the challenges are and the work that you are doing now. All right, Trevor, I think you're muted, Trevor.
Good morning to all of our brothers and sisters, our Maroon brothers and sisters in Jamaica. I want to take this opportunity to thank Maryland Doctor and Professor Marilyn Douglas Jones in Houston, Texas. of Passage, RITE, which is focused on the youth ages 13 to 19. And the pilgrimage is the second component, which is focused on adults and everyone else. And behind all of that are economic development initiative, retrieval of language, culture in certain places like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Nicaragua. We're focused on retrieval in those countries. But we're looking at the United States of America, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize. We're focused on preservation in those countries.
Yeah.
So we've been able to articulate the difference between retrieval, preservation, and the communities that we entertain every time we go there. So right now we're going to St. Vincent and the Grenadines because the focus is retrieval in that specific country. And that's where Balliceaux Island happens to be. On April the 12th, on March the 11th of 1797, we were exiled from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, dropped off on the island of Bequia, and then dropped off to die on the island of Balliceaux. Approximately 5,500 of us. Seventh is when we got exiled. April the 12th is when we landed on the island of Roatan.
All right, hold for me.
17, yeah.
Hold right there for me. Let me take a quick break, please.
Say yes to living the life you love with your family with health and life insurance from Sagicor.
All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running African, and speaking with my Garifuna brothers who are online, just talking about, if you recall, I think it was last year that we spent quite a period of time on this program in solidarity and doing all the interviews too with our brothers and sisters fighting for an island. And let me just remind you by saying an island that was a private island, was being put up for sale, how the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines got involved, what happened on the backside of that. And that was quite a fight by our brothers and sisters. But basically, this is, it ties right back into the conversation that we're having here with our brother Shaka and our brother Garabali. And you see how we just go Shaka and Garabali now, we're on our own, you know.
Yes, Mr. The Garabali was saying how he got his name. My teacher from then Rhodesia was in Belize, and I became very conscious that I needed an African name. So he said, take Shaka, before I knew who Shaka was. And I hats off to him. Now it's in Zimbabwe that got the freedom from Rhodesia. So we full circle.
Full circle.
Talking about Africa, right? Gari, linguistically, if you look at Gari, the whole of West Africa is associated with Gari, right? And so our people, our ancestors decided that this new civilization in this part of the Western Hemisphere would be called Garifuna, Gari, which is from the roots, continuum of the root, people who seek peace and enlighten and bring, pleasure to for the flourishing of the world. We are here back to tell the story with all the evidence. As I would say, all the inductive evidence that we have the numbers, we have the causation of why our people are in Honduras, Nicaragua, Belize, and the United States in large numbers. The numbers are there and could be rectified, but we are here to tell the story that the struggle of liberation continues, because UNESCO has a lot to say about the intangibles, right?
Yeah.
And we give them credit for that we are being honored as a gift to humanity because of our, culture, language. But we're looking at the tangibles. Balliceaux is a tangible project. that we are advocating for in with all the assistance that we could get from our brothers and sisters at the University of the West Indies or historically black colleges. Everybody is welcome on board.
Yes.
Because in discussions recently, Brother Garabali and I have been in discussions with the authorities in St. Vincent. We don't just want a pier to have access. You know what I mean? Some people are talking about the pier. Leave it as natural as it is with all the trees and the erosion that is going on. This is a very big project that is of, magnanimous significance to all people.
Yes.
Right?
So talk to us about that in terms of what the issues are surrounding it now, and what our people are asking for. What our people want, and not so much asking, but want.
I told Garabali when we started this project that I'll give him full support since he had initiated the idea of rites of passage for young people. And so in the spirit of that, I'll always give him the platform to start the discussion. This is a continuum. I see it as a very good project. Mm-hmm. And even though I'm president of the so-called Garifuna Nation as a formal body, mm-hmm. I'm giving him my full support because there is also that need in our community to have continuum.
Yeah.
And for us as an elder, to give him that full support so that we make sure that the vision is not like sidetracked to something that is just like a pier.
Yes.
I've been hearing this discussion about, just leave it as natural as it is. It's too much money. We have gone from $30 million to track who were the real owners to tell the government of St. Vincent, Urume, right, that this is ours. This is the Garifuna People's Project, right? It shouldn't be sidelined into little pockets. So this discussion is just beginning. So I want to just hand it over to Garabali. He has
all right. And my brother, I'm so sorry that we just have half an hour with you this morning. So we have about 5 minutes. So I'll just give you the rest of the time to talk about that.
So what we were saying earlier, thank you, IRIE FM and our host and President Shaka. So March the 11th of 1797, we get exiled. April the 12th, we get to Roatan, Honduras. We disperse. That's when the nation was broken down and tore down. What's happening now is an empire, a nation coming back together. And Balliceaux Island represents Goree Island in the Western Hemisphere. It's like Senegal, Goree Island, the point of no return. Mm-hmm. So this place is going to become a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And it's going to be not only for Garinagu people, this is for all indigenous peoples. And it's important that our Maroon brothers and sisters also know that they too are a part of what we're doing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Our Haitian brothers and sisters, you are a part of what we're doing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This is about retrieval. We're the only blacks in the Western Hemisphere who are from the Western Hemisphere who still speak an ancient language. Within that ancient language are secrets to the existence and the survival of our ancestors. We want to give that back to the Maroon brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. We don't have enough time to really get into it, but when we did get exiled, they dispersed us all the way to London, all of these other countries that we talked about. But let's also say that there was a good number of people that they dispersed to Jamaica. So there's also Garifuna roots in Jamaica, because when we got exiled, that was one of the stops and ports where they dropped off maybe 20, 30 people. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that's obviously, and of course, always that connection. I was just talking to a brother last week where we raised the point, and I think this might have been off air. I'm not quite sure if we said it on air, of when we talk about the connectiveness or the connectedness of our people in the region, we have to get beyond, I think, identifying ourselves according to how they stratified us, and talked about the relationship in particular between St. Vincent and Jamaica. So we go talking in our homes, hearing a lot about St. Vincent, the first other Caribbean nation, and that was my father. Yeah. And I don't even know why. My father is not with us in body anymore, so I can't even ask him, why did you always talk so much about St. Vincent? you know,
Yeah.
because I think,
The land of the
yes,
blessed, the land of the
yes,
blessed, because
yes.
Yurume, St. Vincent means the land of the blessed. And in 1937, my mentor, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, was in Stubbs, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So I want to say that what's happening now, it's time for one God, one aim, one
One
destiny,
destiny.
right? And this is our ancestors quaking and waking us up. And Marcus Mosiah Garvey also said, "You will find me in the whirlwind,
Whirlwind. Yes. And
and
finally,
my name is Garabali, the
Garabali,
whirlwind."
Garabali. Listen, in just 30 seconds that we have, how can those of us who are listening in Jamaica now, who understand ourselves as indigenous people, be a part of what's happening with this initiative and generally with the work that is being done now?
Contact Marilyn Douglas Jones, who is a Jamaican sister with Caribbean Impact. She is a part of the Garifuna Heritage Rite of Passage and Pilgrimage,
How do we
and
find her?
has been.
Just Google her
Um,
name.
no, her contact number is going to be as soon as you're ready.
Go ahead.
Garabali, you want to just put that in the chat? And
All right,
I can
no,
do that.
because
going
no,
live, right?
Her
I'm not
contact
sure.
number is
If you're on
713
YouTube, you can put that in. But sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
Her contact number is 713-304-5983. That's Marilyn Douglas Jones with Caribbean Impact. Just let her know that Garabali and President Shaka sent you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But I'll invite you back for more time because we were scheduled to speak last week and we have a really short time this week. But this is something that I like to continue, the conversation I like to continue with you and also to see how we can foster even stronger relationships between yourselves and us here in Jamaica. So thank you so much, my brothers.
IRIE sister.
Give thanks. Right, you're inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running African, and pay some attention. Time now for us to go back and do our research, read, talk about ourselves. We're talking about what's happening in the world, and it's important to do that. But our answer lies within ourselves and within our indigeneity and within our people, within our indigenousness, if you will, in terms of who we are, who we were, and who we still can be innately. Genetically, our genetic memory is there, and for most of us intact, and a lot of us are awakening to who we are and what we can be. First of all, let us get together as Caribbean people. This is where we start in our communities, and then as Caribbean people. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.